It's every Red Raiders' favorite podcast. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
Happy Song Request Thursday. Give us your favorite heavy metal songs on the Yates Flooring Center chat line in honor of Ozzy himself. Sports entertainment world unfortunately had a passing of their own today. Hulk Hogan.
Sports entertainment, Clint? What do you mean?
Yeah, that's what it's called. It's wrestling.
Entertainment?
Yeah, sports entertainment.
Competition?
It's what it's labeled as.
Is that baseball right there? Is that sports entertainment?
It's entertaining and it's a sport. Hey man, I'm just saying what ESPN calls it. Don't you get snippy with me.
Don't you shoot the messenger,
They know
Gus.
the verbiage.
You know. You're a big wrestling fan.
You know what?
You want to go, brother?
When Iowa State and Iowa wrestle, it really is good stuff. I'm glad you acknowledge that, Brennan.
Do you remember when Wyoming had that
Bedlam wrestling
the
is
barn
really
or
good.
whatever?
Bedlam wrestling.
A couple years
Northern
ago,
Iowa.
It was really cool.
So you said?
I thought it was Wyoming. The one I remember was like Wyoming. Like they had it in this actual barn.
Oh, yes.
It was really
It was like
small.
a throwback thing.
Dude,
So cool.
that looked awesome. I'm sure that I don't know how you got on the ticket list for that, but that's like if I happened to have been in Wyoming and they're like, "Hey, this is happening on Tuesday night. You're here for a week." That would have been towards the top of my list to go to.
One of the schools this year had like a university. Like one of the good ones that was at the national meet was like famously lost their wrestling building and went to a vacant room, and like all the team all like painted the walls and carried the like and so it's their deal, and they have no budget, and that room is by big time NCAA wrestling standards is a dump, but it's like you talk about buying into it, and this is our identity. You can't make these conditions tough enough for us, which in that sport matters. And
sure,
it was a cool story, but they were they had like kind of cell phone videos of those dudes like throwing all the trash out. It was kind of like your moving stories.
Yeah.
It was, but and converting that into our wrestling room, and it's like. Again, by Penn State standards, I'm sure it's a dump. But,
right.
It's probably what a lot of wrestlers grew up wrestling in a room like that, right? It's got a pad
Sure.
and 4 walls. What do you want?
I remember.
You want some air conditioning? Crack the window. Let's go. There's an old fan over there in the corner.
1A Kansas, there wasn't just a lot of wrestling. And so, like, we had never been in a real wrestling room until my freshman year at of all things, a basketball tournament. And there's so many teams at this tournament in Dodge City that they're running out of locker rooms. So we're like, hey, you can change in the wrestling room. And we're like, the what? And so you walk in, there's pads everywhere like that.
Sure.
This is the first time we're seeing it. That's also the first time we ever got yelled at by a coach for stop running into the pads.
Quit jacking around.
Start like wrestling in there immediately.
Quit jacking around.
What are you going to get hurt? And it's like, we're freshmen. We're not playing anyways. Who cares? The Texas Rangers, they do it. They complete the sweep. A 2-1 blowout of the Athletics. Rangers. This was actually really cool because the winning pitcher was John Gray, who made his season debut, just called up yesterday. Broke the arm back on, March 12th? And, it's not like he was coming in and playing the hero or anything, because Corbin was pretty good yesterday, and you had pretty good pitching help behind him as well. Obviously, you have a big home run from Corey Seager there too, but still, individually, I thought the coolest story for the Rangers clearly was John Gray yesterday, and you get the sweep.
And when he came in, it was 2 outs, runners on the corners, and broadcasters had talked about how Rangers kind of wanted a soft landing, and it was more like a crash landing. Like, all right, you're going to have to land this bad boy.
Yep.
And that's what he did.
You don't get to come into a clean inning up 8-3. I'm going to have to land her in the water.
Houston Astros.
That's big. We talked about that yesterday.
Yeah.
And it's big that he jumped right in and throws well. That could be the needed bullpen option, starting rotation depth, all the things.
By the way, the Rangers off tonight. They will start a series against the Braves tomorrow, 6:30, right here on Double T 97.3. And for the Athletics, well, it's not going to get any easier as they're about to enter a 4-game set with the Houston Astros, who just completed a sweep of their own 4-3 over the Diamondbacks in the series finale. And it was Christian Walker who hit an RBI single to go ahead in the top of the 9th. Good ball game here, and the Astros sweep Arizona. And what I believe now, they're the best record in baseball. Tigers hitting some thumps in all the wrong ways after the All-Star break. Yep, I lied. The Brewers now with the title of best record in baseball. Houston right there with Toronto and also the Cubs.
Yeah, those Brewers are a nice baseball story.
You know, this was a nice story. Nigel Kennedy.
Oh, yeah.
And that story continues on. She was, shocker here, named the Big 12 Female Athlete of the Year. Your representatives was JT Toppin on the men's side and then Nigel Kennedy. Nigel Kennedy wins the whole thing. Toppin had a pretty good case there for basketball on the male side, but it does go to a certain player over in Colorado who also won a Heisman. So, good year for Toppin, though. But,
pretty good list.
Yeah.
And that was, say it again, it's Athlete of the Year?
Yes.
So it's not, okay.
Yeah, it's Big 12 Female and Male Athlete of the Year. And Team USA, they will play for gold after beating Hungary 73-71 in yesterday's semifinal matchup in Germany. They will move on to face the People's Republic of China tomorrow, 1 o'clock. Danae Fritz, huge down the stretch. Big three-pointer, 30 seconds left. And then Sydney Love hit the free throws to take a 2-point lead with just about 3 seconds left in that game. And clutch performance down the end. It was a tight one for most of it. I think the biggest lead was around 10 for Lady Raider basketball, but still, Team USA, Lady Raiders and friends. But still, that was a good ball game over there. And now a chance for gold. We know they'll medal, but if you have the shot, why not get the gold one, right?
Absolutely. Stayed in it this long.
Hit us up on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Thoughts, comments, questions, and your favorite metal songs for Song Request Thursday.
Yeah, you heard it. Your favorite heavy metal songs. Let's go. Get him in.
Yes, Brennan? You leaned in. You turned the mic on.
I was going to make a dad joke, but there'll be enough time for that.
Why not? There's plenty of time. Go ahead. There's always time for a
You
dad
kids
joke.
turn that music down.
Well, I was thinking, probably some Copper,
Nice.
Nickelback.
Gold, Nickel.
You're right. There wasn't enough time. You seem like you weren't the type of dad throwing in the door and going like, "You kids, turn this music down." You seem like you would have been asking what it was.
He wanted them to
Absolutely.
turn the radio up or the music up.
Like, hey, this has got a nice beat. Good fast pace.
I give it an 85. It's easy to dance to. That's a American Bandstand reference, Clint. You're a little too young for that. American Bandstand. They bring two kids out of the audience, and what do you think of this song? They'd play 30 seconds of it, and they'd come around. What do you think? And you'd give it a number rating. It's got a nice beat. It's easy to dance to. I give it an 85. What about you, Brennan? Well, love that guitar solo. I give it a 90.
It did sound just like Brennan, too. At least our impression of him. Nailed it. It's Tech Talk on Double T 97.3.
The podcast that finishes your workday in a very Red Raider way. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3. Presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
I mean, you had to wait till you got to him coming into the song. It is Tech Talk on Double T 97.3. It is a Song Request Thursday. Your favorite heavy metal songs. Give us those on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Bullfighter put up a picture of us with old Gus and friends starting a garage band soon, I hear. What is the name of the band? Again, Gus, every time your face gets put on someone with long hair, you look like you're about to complain to a manager. Like
androgynous.
You look like, I said no pickles.
Pat.
When I say no pickles, I don't expect any pickles.
Remember
Make
Pat,
it again.
the SNL character, Pat?
I try to think. So there's obviously I'm there.
Gosh.
I look like I'm certainly a burnout. I'm somehow balding more in that picture than I am in real life, and somehow my forehead's bigger too. Collier looks like an Oompa Loompa grew up, and then Joyce. I don't know what's going on with Joyce. He might look the most natural and still not at all. Yeah. Hit us up on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Gus, I have a story. I don't know. This is the best way I can describe this. I have a story that when I was first reading it, I thought was a big story, and now is, as I'm going along, is kind of a nothing burger, but I think it's interesting, and just that we just had these conversations. And by these conversations, I mean the ACC exodus. Florida State and Clemson were going to break up the conference. They were going to find a way. They were suing. They were going to find a loophole. Maybe they get private equity involved. Who knows? Florida State was going to go out, and Clemson was going to follow the same route. The report today from On 3. North Carolina exploring potential move from ACC to SEC.
Yeah, the interest
in 2030.
Yeah, exactly. Because the cost of leaving that league goes down as we move along.
In the 29-30 season, which would be a year before everything is going to break up anyways, at least for the bulk of everyone else, the ACC goes into what, 2036? Mm-hmm. In the 29-30 season is $93 million is what that drops down for the ACC. It is a flat $75 million beginning in the 2030 season, the 30-31 academic year. And so we know this is happening, right? How is this?
Sure, that they're being wooed. I mean, the interesting thing about North Carolina, even going back when this realignment conversation took place 2 or 3 years ago, going that far back, the idea was that North Carolina would be one of the most valuable programs. Of course, this was back when the regional, like the thing that SEC hasn't done is just blow up the map. They haven't added 2 schools from California, right? And the Big Ten hadn't until they had
UCLA. to keep up
right.
with the SEC.
But the idea was that North Carolina would be fought over because they are a border state of both leagues, right? Again, as regionality sort of taking a backward step, it's not the priority. But man, when this stuff was talked about 3 years ago, and probably 15 years ago, but especially 3 years ago, it was all about the fact that it's a bordering state to the Big Ten, bordering state to the ACC. It's right in the middle. Mm-hmm. I mean, SEC, and they're going to get after it.
And for what it's worth,
because they have value, and they have all the academic stuff.
Yeah.
For the Big Ten.
For like major conferences, North Carolina is kind of a chameleon where they can.
Right.
I think a big thing is like culture fit is also something that the SEC, and part of its regionality. And I'm not saying every single school and every single fan base is the same over there, but all of them kind of make sense and do fit well together. And I don't necessarily think that is the case as much with the Big Ten as much. And part of that is when you are going to go coast to coast. The Big 12, you have vastly different fan bases, and that's not a bad thing. You had to do it to survive. Mm-hmm. The ACC now has vastly different standpoint or fan bases when you're going like A to Z. But North Carolina, for what it's worth, and for what the Big Ten as a whole, and certainly what the SEC is, they give off a feeling of like they could naturally fit in either one. But I do think this is interesting. This is from On 3, this story. It's from the Tar Heels side, and less like the wooing away side. and it's the Tar Heels are aiming to land in the SEC if it should ultimately exit the ACC.
Well, think about
This is going to happen. I'm not saying
sure.
specifically, North Carolina to the SEC or anything like that, but 2030 and specifically after 2031, there's going to be something different about conferences. I don't know if that's quite when the Super League hits or something like that, but the ACC, this has just been silence. Those ACC schools, that Magnificent Seven that was trying to get out there, Hateful Eight, whatever it was led by Florida State and Clemson, but there were other schools that were trying to leave, and North Carolina was one of those. They still feel the same. Things have just been calmed over for now, and they're waiting for a cheaper date.
Absolutely. And whatever day this happens, whatever year this happens, the announcement will come the day of the trigger date, right? If the thing goes from 93 to 75 million on August 1st, 2030, it'll be announced on August 1st, right?
Right, yeah. And so I just wonder how many times we'll get this. And the only thing that is different from this story is this is the first time North Carolina has been isolated, and they haven't been a part of the conversation starting with Clemson and Florida State. But I wonder, we got 5 years, 6 years to do this, right? Where who's the next individual school from the ACC? Look out for Virginia Tech. They're eyeing the Big Ten, that sort of stuff.
Absolutely. And don't you think Tennessee, North Carolina would just fire up an immediate rivalry?
Oh, that'd be
Man.
Yeah. If they want to come to the Big 12, I would take them. I would take them in a heartbeat. Yeah, we had that question for Memphis of again, I understand it was group of five, but if the ACC blew up, there are some schools that I don't think realistically you could get, but there's some in the second wave that I would not mind adding to the Big 12.
The podcast put together with Red Raider fans in mind. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
You know what is awesome? Because we get the original, the Dio version. Mm-hmm. Oh, man. Dang.
Ronnie James.
Ronnie James. I was trying to call him John something. I was going to call him John Roberts Dio.
Johnny Ray.
John Dio.
Ronnie James version. And Kill Switch Engage is a great cover.
And that was them right there?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Nice.
I believe D-Rock had that great request. It is a Song Request Thursday. Your favorite heavy metal songs. Give us those on the Yates Flooring Center chat line.
These songs are giving me back of the bus vibes.
Oh, yeah.
My guys,
Headed
Billy
into
Vance, and I think Scott
headed
Smith
on a
and
game
some of
trip.
those dudes. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Go to the El Paso trip in the playoffs. Go down there and play my junior year. And they would have the huge Walkman cords. That was back in the day when a Walkman, the cassette Walkman, had 2 jacks. And they quickly eliminated that, thinking, we're not selling those many Walkmans as we could. Those cords would be snarled all over the back of the bus, and there'd be one dude over there in headphones when they're playing off the same one, and it would be so loud, I'm walking back there to take a leak or whatever, and it's
Guys, come on, I'm trying to go pants down around the ankles back here. Can we keep it down? I can't focus.
Blasting in their ears.
After you have banged your head against a locker, blood running down your face, just looking
Tripped
like a crazy
over them
man,
3
right?
times. They were over there asleep with Dio just
Sleep
shredding in their ears. Oh, absolutely. Dio and
Ride the tiger.
Judas Priest and AC/DC. I noticed somebody texted in Big Balls earlier.
Yeah, great
Got
selection.
that. That's a great song. That's...
I've got... Sorry.
The metalheads are alive and well, especially the old
It'll
G
never
metalheads, my age. Guys are enjoying the day, enjoying the topic.
Keep giving us yours on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. We will go up to 6 o'clock. Tonight you'll have Astros versus Athletics, 640, 100.7 the score. Gus, we gave a couple weeks ago the anonymous coach survey from the Big 12 of who they thought would win the Big 12. Kansas State was the winner. I'll have to go back and look at the list to see how the anonymous votes were separated. But this time, and we've had this for a little bit, but we haven't talked about it yet, we have the the players, anonymous player survey of who will be the Big 12 champ. They talked to 30 players during Big 12 Media Days in Frisco. Would you like to guess? There are 2 teams tied for the most votes according to the players of who will win the Big 12 this year. Would you like to guess who those 2 are?
Kansas State and players. Ooh, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if they're titillated by the thought of a lot of money going to one team. So I'll go Kansas State, Texas Tech.
You're right on one of them. I'm not going to tell you which one. I'll let you swap out one.
Probably take Tech out and see, I don't think they'd be as engaged. I maybe go ASU. So I'll go K-State and ASU.
You're right on one of them. I'm not going to tell you
ASU
which
and
one.
Texas Tech. Really nice. I like that.
Of the 30 votes, let's see. There are 1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, these were guys that
8,
attended.
9, 10. There are 10 Big 12 teams that at least one player said that school won the Big 12. And Arizona State and Tech both had 5 players say it's going to be those.
So the players are, I said titillated, but the players are probably engaged by the whole money flow thing.
Oh, and probably just the
Gonna
talent
be
that they're seeing
prominent.
going
Yes,
over
well,
there.
that's prominent in their mind, right?
Baylor, by the way, 3rd with 4.
Okay.
Iowa State with 3. And this is where I think it's interesting because I think the players should have known good and well who was and who wasn't going to be on BYU's roster.
Right.
But BYU has 2. And then TCU, Utah, Kansas State, Colorado, and Kansas all had 1 player say they'll win the Big 12. So again, take that for what it's worth. But those are the those are the players' thoughts.
Is that pre-quarterback movement there at
this was at Big 12 Media Days, and so
it had just happened, right? Or I don't know, I'm trying to place that day. We knew that was cooking there. I can't remember. Had he at that point? I think he had already been cut loose.
he
but it was
stepped away from the program, but it wasn't like.
Yeah, everybody suspected.
Everything was up in the air of where he was going to go, but everyone knew that he wasn't
Okay.
going to be at BYU.
All right, so that survey was conducted. Yeah, that's what I was trying to think about. I mean, obviously, we've known all through the late spring and early summer that it was not looking good for his participation this year. But what we weren't sure about was, is this going to be a 4-game suspension, whatever? No. He's a Tulane Green waiver.
Here are some anonymous quotes for those that picked Tech. Texas Tech has a good team. They were good last year. They made some additions this year in the transfer portal, and then I like that quarterback. Texas Tech finished off pretty strong last year, so I feel like they're going to come with a little vengeance. I think those are the only
Like it?
quotes we have, at least for Tech. So, yeah. I like those 5 votes confidence. Hope that one works. But it's interesting, though, because this is like, it looks vastly different between how the voting shook down between the players and the coaches. And, again, take that for what it's worth. But, and you never know with the Big 12 anyways, but I was interested with how high the coaches were on Kansas State, that there was just one player that was like, yeah, Kansas State, they're pretty good.
I'm ready for the old coach's kid to lead us through the promised land here. Coach Morton's son, young Barron. Ready for that.
I'm in. Yeah. They also had, by the way, the same thing, an anonymous player survey of their pick for the league's best quarterback.
Okay.
I'm going to do a guess of who they picked, who was the best. This one, it's not even close from the players.
It's ASU.
Sam Levitt. Yeah,
Yeah,
he had eight players pick him, 4 picked Avery Johnson, 2 picked Jalen Daniels, and then Devin Dampier, Barron Morton, Noah Fafita, Sawyer Robertson, Caden Salter, and Rocco Becht each had 1.
I like it.
It's every Red Raiders' favorite podcast. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
It is a heavy metal day today on Tech Talk for Song Request Thursday. In 15 minutes, we'll have Ask Tech Talk. Give us your questions on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. That is brought to you by our friends at Visual Edge IT. Clint Scott, Dr. Mike Gustafson, Brennan Riker behind the glass taking care of us. We never really answered the, I guess, fill in the blank. I didn't really present it very well. But a different way to do it. Gus, what do you think the special teams as a whole will be? And you can break this down into the different actual parts of special teams, because it's not all just one thing. But like you said, the first thing we jump to is field goals.
Well, and that's exactly it. When the probably the true organization and the true marker of that is either finding a way to stalemate games. In other words, I may not return one for a touchdown, but I'm not letting you return one for a touchdown. I'm not dropping a fair catch and creating an opportunity for you, that kind of thing. Like a solid special teams play, a solid special teams game can be stalemate, especially if you've got. I remember Tank Dell came in here with Houston a couple years ago. Like, hey, that guy, you don't punt it to him. Right. If you punt it to him, you got to tackle him. So, I don't know. Here's what I would think about. Here's what I think in very general terms. We've added a bunch of athletes, almost enough to constantly, not quite 22 guys, but so what did we decide? 16 or 17 that are impacting the two deep?
Yeah,
so 16 or 17.
Somewhere around there.
16 or 17 of our top 44 are new faces. New faces relative to the fall, unless they weren't here in the spring. So what does that mean? Like, it's like we just talked about. You add a closer to the Rangers and it deepens the entire bullpen. You add a bunch of athletes like that, what's it going to do? It's going to disperse more depth and more talent, more guys that might have been starting that are now playing on the two deep and might also cover some punts or do some things because their roles are a little different. I think it's going to be a more athletic group and thus a more effective group in special teams. Does that mean they'll be more explosive? That may hinge on a key player or two in the return game. But just in very general terms, I bet we're pretty good at kick coverage, punt coverage. I bet we're pretty good at all the things because we have a lot of bodies to throw at this, a lot of athletic bodies.
You know what? I think if I gave you, to me, the three most interesting things about your special teams units this season, for good or for bad reasons. One, I think, Upton Bellenfant, and really just the kicking game. The one time, this isn't fair because he was really good at Buffalo last year. This is why you brought him in.
And he was really good all spring except for that last game.
The spring game, like on the one time we got to see him, in a somewhat Red Raider jersey and the practice jersey. As fans, it did not go well, and so there's this freak out. And honestly, it kind of feels like an extended version. Do you remember last year?
Yes.
Kenny Perry goes into immediate availability, and I still, to this day, I don't know if Reese Burkhart and Gino Garcia just had a bad day and he was sending a message to them, but he's like, I don't know if we're going to make a kick, and all of a sudden we were like, should we be worried about this?
He asked the media, anybody good?
And turns out you were fine. You were actually really good with both kickers, but Garcia ends up getting the bulk of them and does a really good job for you, right? And you look back, and between him and then before him, Trey Wolf, and then go back to Garibay, you've really had kickers you could consistently lean on, and a couple of them with really big legs. Now, it's hard to see that for Bellenfant right now. He's got 2 attempts over 50 and made 1, but 18 to 21 last year. He has the consistency, certainly for extra points and for inside 30, that I think you'll be fine, but we still had that kind of peak of concern. So that's one.
Right.
A second one is just how much can Jacoby Williams leave his fingerprints on a game through that way. He'll be able to do it as a running back, but you would think that's either going to be, Quentin Joyner's going to get 50% of the reps, and then it's going to be 25 for both he and Dickey. You might change those numbers depending on the type of defense and situation and stuff like that. It may be 33.333 repeating, but either way, it's not going to be as big of a share as far as just a running back as it might be next year and then hopefully a year after that. But special teams, as a kickoff returner and, looks like as a punt returner too, I think with what you saw, what he did last year taking over for Dre McCray, who was pretty underappreciated, by the way, as a kick returner because we focused more on the receiver, and that just wasn't quite there for McCray. But as a returner, he was really good. In fact, second best in the Big 12 good. And then we got to see it from Williams, and he was third best with his average. There,
Yeah.
just went and kept on running with that mantle. One of my, maybe it's not all that bold, but my bold one bold take for this year is that you're going to get a return touchdown from Williams and at least 5 returns of 40 plus in the kick game. And then the third is something that you're kind of talking about is he's not the only one that's going to get reps. And I'll especially be interested as the punt returners go. Where I go, can this be where he leaves his biggest imprint on a game? I also look, could this be where we see some Micah Hudson reps? He's on the depth chart for both.
Is.
And
Absolutely.
so that 5-star playmaking ability is there. And so maybe if we don't see a big role as a receiver, do we see some of that talent shine through in the return game? And I think those are my 3 things that I look for this year and go, that's what I'm the most interested in.
I didn't even think about Micah, but you're right. He does show up on the depth chart in the return game, and that'll be interesting. Of course, a lot of times the punt return game settles on the guy who's going to be catching the football every time it's punted, right? Yes, we may have some home run hitter qualities there, but if you're only catching it 9 out of every 10 times.
If you can run a 4.3 40, but you got stone hands or worse, you don't know when to fair catch and when to risk it.
I remember
you're not gonna get very many looks out there.
I remember the Patriots when I kind of started watching them when Wes and Danny were there, especially Amendola. There was a stretch there where Danny go in there and fair catch that thing. Of course, you had Brady, the best quarterback in the business, like Danny. The other guy fumbled one time. And we'd never heard of that guy again. And Amendola is out there fair catching everything. Just hand the ball to Tom Brady and get out of the way, right?
The podcast put together with Red Raider fans in mind. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3. Presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Ask Tech Talk is brought to you by Visual Edge IT. Give us your questions on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Thank you for joining us. Clint Scott, Dr. Mike Gustafson, Brennan Riker is behind the glass taking care of us. The Astros and the Athletics will start a 4-game series tonight, 640, 100.7 the score. Kobe said it's hard to be a consistent impact as a returner because once you start breaking off big returns, teams stop kicking to you.
Sure.
I do agree. I think that's where I lean more towards kick return because, especially for punt returns, you can really, and you especially are trying to keep those things away. And as a kick returner, if you're not consistently kicking it out of the back of the end zone, you're going to get reps. And I look like last year, Gus, I think you were the only Big 12 school with a returner or any returners that had 5+ or 540+ returns, and 3 of them were from Dre McCray. 2 of them were Jacoby Williams, and both of those came against Colorado, by the way, for what it's worth. And so that's where I don't think 5 by just Williams, especially if he's getting the reps all year, is crazy. And I really don't think it's crazy that he'll pop off for a touchdown for either a punt or a kick return.
No, absolutely not. Hopefully it's in a meaningful spot.
Yeah.
I mean, not that there's anything wrong with running one back when we're beating somebody 42-7, but I'd rather it be game changer type stuff, right?
Mm-hmm. But I also think you look at how early he is in his career, if he really is an anchor for that, to already say for someone who really, in the scheme of things, has in the grand scheme of things, it hasn't played all that much for you, but when you've seen him, it's been electric. I think if he does this for 3 years, we'll go, that is Jakeem Grant, again, as a returner.
Yes.
Jakeem Grant, that is Amendola. We'll see if he can reach the Wes Welker heights. That's going to be tough for anybody.
Run back 8 in a career.
Yeah. But I really think he's got the talent
Sure.
for us to have that sort of conversation. And we might be able to start that conversation after this year if it goes well. And I mean, the explosiveness,
Sure.
the quick change ability, and I think the vision, which is also important, obviously, for a returner too, and also just the creativity as a runner. I think all of that is there. I think from the limited glimpses you can see, he knows when to he knows when to go minimally east-west, but he also knows when to put his foot down and say, I'm just going to run. Until I find a wall, I'm just going to run.
Well, don't better athletes translate to, maybe a better shot at legit punt block threats, things like that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think we've talked so much, and we should, about the offense and defense. We've kind of overlooked the special teams, and good. And this goes for punting, this goes for returning, kickoffs. Pick a phase there. Like, that's something that could make or break a really good team. And you're going to be in some dogfights this year in the Big 12. It's not going to all be blowouts or anything like that. I hope it is, but I'm just not expecting you to go to Utah and just blow the Utes out of the water in your first Big 12 game. And so I think it's important for this unit to be good too. And you've got a lot of new faces. You're leaning on whether it's through the transfer portal, or if it's just their young players like Jacoby Williams that's taking on a bigger role, or should take on a bigger role. And then another name too, we talked about Micah Hudson. This could be where like Roy Alexander comes into play. He's popping up on that depth chart somewhere too. So I think that's an interesting conversation.
Yeah, some guy we've never heard of getting a hand on a punt, right?
And the other thing too is, Gus, I think good coaches are really good about telling you who your future stars are through special teams.
Absolutely.
John Curry last year was your coverage MVP, and now all we can talk about this offseason is how good can he be as an inside linebacker.
Is he pushing Ben Roberts for a starting job?
Mm-hmm.
That's the conversation.
Dingle is another one of those names who has been like, just, you can see the athletic freak nature and sort of going, boy, that dude's going to be something when he takes over a defensive spot, and it looks like it's this year with the star, and hopefully he shines there. Not to do a star pun.
89, which was a good year around here, a 9-3 team, and James Gray rushing for 1,800 yards and all those things. And that was there were some young dudes that were flying around. One of whom lives here in Lubbock, Ben Kirkpatrick. A bunch of listeners know Ben, but Ben Kirkpatrick and Lara Keaton, same thing. We're talking about young dudes that were getting on the field and hungry and ready to go. They weren't like beat up from all the defensive reps and everything. Like, hey, this is your minute to shine. You've been wanting playing time. Here you go. Go cover that kick. Mm-hmm. Those two, among others, maybe even Coach Gerlich's husband, Brian, athletic director. Those dudes were flying around crushing people because it was they were, they had a bunch of older guys blocking them in the playing time. On the two deep. Young bucks out there, young bucks out there crushing people. Eric was flying around hammering dudes. And that was fun to watch. It was fun to watch because you're like, man, these guys are excited to get on the field. When the Aggies did the whole 12th man thing where they were like all walk-ons, which Rodney Blackshear sort of blew that up. But for years, those guys would get on the field and beat a bunch of rabid dogs, not because they were big, monster, gorgeous athletes, but just – they had all played high school sports and high school football and all that stuff, but they were rabid, and they did a great job for a long time before that thing blew up. Unfortunately, it blew up with at the hand of the Red Raiders.
The other thing I think too with special teams is if you're going to be a championship contender, you're a championship unit for all three phases.
Sure, absolutely.
Most of the time, it's not like, well, the offense was solid, the defense was elite, but man, that special teams was horrible, but they found a way to win. Arizona State had to fight through some of that last year, but for the most part, they were pretty clean.
Yeah, they struggled at the place kicker position, but yeah.
What's made Kansas State consistent for years?
Oh, my gosh. Letting you beat yourselves on special teams. Not you, meaning Texas Tech, but everybody. Mm-hmm. They were airtight in their coverages and all those things and secure, and every once in a while they'd block a kick or run one back and change the game that way.
So hopefully that's what we're in store for this year.
This has been the Tech Talk Podcast, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Check out our library of Double T 97.3 podcasts at doublet97.3.com.